Shadowing. Controversy over New Zealand giving priority to elective surgery patients based on race. It's called the Equity Adjuster Waitlist tool, and it's being used to prioritize patients for non-urgent surgeries in Auckland, and it takes into account a range of factors, so including clinical needs, so how sick a person is, as well as their socioeconomic status, where they live, whether they in a rural location or in a city, and also their ethnicity. So it's sort of like a point system, and within this system, people of Pacific Islander and Maori heritage are ours an additional point based on their ethnic background, and that goes into overall calculation of where they sit on the surgery waiting list. So why were Maori and Pacific Island heritage people prioritized in a way? So justification for this policy, which has been implemented by the New Zealand Health Authority, is take what order? Is that Maori and Pacific Islander people research show that they have less access or poor access to surgeries in New Zealand and tend to spend longer on a surgery waiting list. And so this is part of a broader approach within the health authority to address some of the inequalities that have been identified recently. Yeah. So given that, why has this sort of system become so controversial? So there has been quite a bit of backlash to this new tool over recent days, with opponents saying that it is discriminatory because it singles people out based on their race and ethnicity. These comments appear in local newspapers and are mostly attributed to anonymous surgeon working in the Auckland area where this tool is being implemented. And we've also seen the National Party health spokesperson Dr. Shane Reddy came up and criticized the policy, calling for it to be scrapped, saying that race and ethnicity should play a role in determining where a person accesses surgery. On the other hand, medical professionals working with Pacific Islander and Maori patients say it's a positive step towards addressing some systemic inequalities that results in poor health outcome for people in that part of the community. So it's certainly an issue that raised a lot of debates in New Zealand in recent days. Yeah. How has the government and health authority responded? Well, the health authority has redirected that this within this tool, the most important factor is still clinical needs. So how sick a person is, and the introduction or inclusion of ethnicity is one of the criteria, doesn't override the clinical needs. That's now they've said that the policy is part of the broader strategy to address or improve equity within medical system, and they've also committed to reviewing the tool as it rolls out. And has there been any response from New Zealanders in public? Well, there's been a lot of debate within the public space. Um, there are some people that have been backed those comments that calling the policy discriminatory, but certainly among Pacific Islanders that I've spoken to, they are very much in support of this policy and say it's long overdue that something is done, and to acknowledge that is racism in the medical system and do nothing to address it is the greater form of discrimination. Yeah, and interesting what's how the place are good to talk. Thank you for your time. Thanks, Beverly. What more? It's called the Equality Adjuster Waitlist tool, and it's being used to prioritize patients for non-urgent surgeries in Auckland. And it takes into account a range of factors, so including clinical needs, so how sick a person is, as well as their socioeconomic status, where they live, where they're in a rural location or in a city, and also their ethnicity. So it's sort of like a point system. And within this system, people of Pacific and Pacific Islander and Maori heritage are awarded additional points based on their ethnic background, and that goes into the overall calculation of where they sit on the surgery waiting list. So why were Maori and Pacific Islander heritage people prioritized in a way? So the justification for this policy, which has been implemented by the New Zealand health authorities, take what order, and is that Maori and Pacific Islander people research show that they have less access or poor access to surgery in New Zealand and tend to spend longer on surgery waiting lists. And so this is part of a broader approach within health authority to address some of the inequalities that's been identified recently. So given that, why has this sort of system become so controversial? So there has been quite a bit backlash to this new tool over recent days, with opponents saying it is discriminatory because single people out based on their race and ethnicity. These comments have appeared in local newspapers and most attributed to anonymous surgeon working in an Auckland area where this tool is being implemented. And we've also seen the National Party health spokesperson, Dr. Shane Reddy, come up and criticize policy, calling for it to be scratchy, saying that race and ethnicity should be playing a role in determining when a person accesses surgery. On the other hand, medical professionals working with Pacific Islander and Maori patients say it's a positive step towards addressing some systemic inequalities that results in poor health outcomes for people in that part of the community. So it's certainly an issue raised a lot of debate in New Zealand in recent days. How has the government and health authority responded? Well, the health authority has redirected that this within this tool, the most important factor is still clinical needs. So how sick a person is, and the introduction or inclusion of ethnicity is one of the criteria, doesn't override the clinical needs. That's where they're saying this policy is part of the broader strategy to address or improve equality within the medical system, and they've also committed to reviewing the tool as it rolled out. And has been any response from New Zealander in public? Well, there's been a lot of debates within the public space. There are some people that have backed those comments that calling this policy discriminatory, but Sadly, among Pacific Islanders that were spoken to, they are very much in support of this policy and saying that it's long overdue that something is done, and to acknowledge that it's racism in the medical system, and do not think to dress is great form of discrimination. Interests will have to more place go to talking to time. And thanks, Beverly.